So we've got the first ring done, which is the case middle. It's a little oversized at the moment, but I'll worry about that later. And the next stage now is to roll down the remaining piece of gold. This is 18 carat red gold, 6mm by 6mm. And we'll roll it down using this mandrel or rolling mill. The metal will probably need a little bit of softening, but I'll just take a couple of passes through the mill just to see how hard it is, and then we can decide what to do then. So just a few passes, and then we can just check the thickness of this. And just keep turning the metal through 90 degrees just to try and keep it as straight as possible. And a few more checks just to make sure that it's going in the right direction. So we've got the gold laid out now, and it's just a matter of heating it. Again, what we're going to do is to take it to a cherry red, let it cool to a black colour, and then quench it. And that will just mean that it's a little bit more malleable and easy to work with, because as you roll a gold, it work hardens, and it eventually will become brittle and crack. So we're nearly there now with the temperature. I think that's it now. Well, that's as hot as it needs to be. So we'll just let it cool. And it's sort of black here now. A few more seconds and then we'll quench it. And that should now be ready for a little bit more rolling out, just to reduce the width of the piece of gold and to gain some length in the material so that I can get the two rings out of it. So we've now softened the gold, and we can continue to do the rolling and reduce it down to the diameter that we need. So we now got the gold rolled out to approximate size, so now I have to just divide it by two, one for the case front and then one for the case back. So I've already marked it out for the centre line, and then we just simply cut it in half with this piercing saw. And so there we have the two pieces. Now I'll go back to the rolling mill and just roll each one individually, because the front is very slightly different than the back, and so I just need to alter the widths and the heights on both pieces. So for the bezel now, I just need to reduce the height and widths down to 5.2mm and 4.32mm. So we'll just work on the lowest, the 4.32mm height first, and just start to reduce its height gradually. And just keep checking the progress. because the last thing we want to do is, or don't want to do, is go under size. And what happens is as we roll one side, this edge tends to roll, so the metal tends to splay around the edges. So we've got to keep rolling the high side just to take out this sort of rolling effect which occurs, and try and push the metal back into, if you like, the main body of the material. And basically it's usually a bit of toing and froing. So you will reduce the thin side, and then you just have to correct the high side just to try and push the material back into place. And then just again keep checking to make sure they're going in the right direction. So I've managed to get this face flat again, but now we just need to work on this thin side again. The bezel is now down to size, so we just need to work on the back, and again this just needs minimal correction to bring it down to size. So that's currently 5.3 millimeters, and it should be 5 millimeters, and then the width should be 4.62 and it's 4.7, so it's getting very close. So we won't really touch that side now, and we'll just concentrate on taking the 0.3 of a millimeter out of this height here. And again, we've got this curling effect on this face here. So I'm just going to take this out again now and basically try and push it back into the main body of the gold. And that's pretty well good now for that height, 4.65, and it should be 4.6. And then the height here, 5.36, and it should be just over 5. So I'm just going to take a little smidge off there, but it is pretty close now. And just a couple of passes, we should be okay. And that's it. So that's now the case back ready, and so both the back and the bezel are now rolled to size, and I can form these into their circles in preparation for the soldering. So we're back in the heating room, and I'm just going to anneal these two pieces of gold for the bezel and the back, ready just for bending into a circle, and it should just make life a little bit easier for me. Right, so that is now nearly, I think that's pretty well to temperature now. So we can just let that cool again to a black heat before quenching. And I may just do that a couple of times actually, just to really make sure that the two components, the two bars, are very well softened. A little bit more. Right, so now ready to quench. So back on there straight away. And repeat the same process. for a very nice even colour. I think again that's okay now. So it's cooling down nicely. It's almost ready. I'm just really looking for all the glow to have disappeared from the material, and then you get this true black colour. That's it now. So back to basically roll these now into two circles, two rings, ready for the soldering operation. And so we're back into this jig now, and we can just begin to put this curve onto the back of the case. This one's a little easier to bend than the middle. And that really is as tight a curve as I'm going to get this. And what I'll do is just put this in a vise and just bend this round a bar just to close it up a bit, and then we can start to drive this into the tapered former. So here we have the two rings. They've now been bent into very rough circles. We have an overlap which will be cut away, and then they'll be twisted to meet each other, and then we can solder them and form them into a solid ring ready for the forming of the back and the bezel. So we have one of the rings now. This is for the case back, and it's been bent into a rough circle. I've chopped the excess material off, and it's still out of round, so it's back into the press to force it into a circle. We'll just wind that down and give it a bit of a crush on both sides, turning it over just to try and get some flatness into the ring. And already it's forming a nice circle. So we'll just measure that and make sure that it's going in the right direction. So here we have the three rings, the bezel, the middle and the back. They've now been cleaned up, all the oxidization has been removed, and this is in preparation of soldering of the joints. And this is really quite a critical stage, because once the soldering has been done, then the diameter of the rings has been fixed. And so we go to great lengths at this stage just to check to make sure that the diameters are correct, the internal diameters are correct, and then also the heights of each ring is spot on. And also in my calculations I always allow a bit of material, so I have added on material onto the height, the internal diameter and the external diameters, just so that I can guarantee that I can turn up the shape of the component or the band that I'm looking for. So the next stage is soldering.